Hi, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for your support. In this article, I'm going to talk about the U.S. cattle herd is now at a 75-year low, maybe about 860.2 million head, and ground beef um, at prices of about $6.90 a pound. The closing or just walking away from their farms from the cattle production. Bankruptcies are up. Cattle thefts are definitely rising with the cost of higher prices for beef. Drought, imports, and the screwworm is adding pressure. The American cattle industry is under significant strain. As of January of this year, the U.S. cattle and calves inventory stood about 86.2 million head, the smallest since 1951. At that time, the U.S. population was roughly 156 million. Today, it exceeds 340 million people. In other words, the national herd is essentially the same size it was 75 years ago, yet it must now supply more than twice as many people. Hamburger prices illustrates the shift clearly. In 1951, ground beef typically cost well under $1 per pound. I can remember when it was 35 cents per pound. By the mid 2026, the average retail price of ground beef had climbed to roughly $6.80, maybe $6.90 per pound. Drought has been the primary driver of the recent contractions of heads of cattle. The herd peaked to nearly 95 million head in 2019 before multi-year dry conditions across major cow-calf regions. The droughts were particularly bad in the southern plains, the Midwest, and parts of the West. It forced widespread liquidation of breeding stock. Ranchers sold cows they would normally have kept because the pasture and hay became scarce and expensive. The number of cattle operations has also fallen sharply. According to the USDA's Census of Agriculture, there were 882,692 farms with cattle and calves in 2017. By 2022, that number had dropped to 732,123, a loss of 150,569 operations in just 5 years, or an average of roughly 82 cattle operations exiting every day. Beef cow operations specifically declined from 729,000 to just 622,000 over the same period. Beyond weather, long-term conditions such as high costs, labor shortages, and market volatility have driven the exodus. It's going to get worse. I've talked about how with this coming stable coin, small town banks will not be able to give loans to these smaller operations. So people need to be prepared for what's coming in the future. Farm bankruptcies have also climbed. Chapter 12 filings, the specialized form of bankruptcy available to family farms, rose 46% last year to 315 cases, according to the U.S. court data analysis by the American Farm Bureau Federation. The Midwest and Southeast accounted for the bulk of the increase, while high cattle prices have supported many livestock operations more recently. Earlier periods of low prices, elevated input costs, and drought left lasting financial stress. But what they don't talk about is the broader data that shows that far more farms simply exited without filing for formal bankruptcy. More than 160,000 operations disappeared between 2017 and 2024. High cattle values have also fueled a rise in cattle thefts. With individual animals worth thousands of dollars, reports of rustling and organized theft rings have increased in Texas, the Midwest, and other cattle states last year and going into this year, adding another layer of risk and loss for producers. As an example of cattle rustling penalties, here in Texas is classified as a theft as a felony. The value of the stolen livestock exceeds $150. Potential penalty range from state jail felony, 180 days, to maybe 2 years. For lower values, the second degree felony is anywhere from 2 to 20 years for thefts exceeding a certain threshold. In Montana, cattle theft laws are based on the value of the stolen animal. For instance, stealing a single animal under $1,500 might be a misdemeanor, while theft exceeding $1,500 becomes a felony with potential prison sentence. Imports have drawn increased attention as domestic supply tightens. Been a lot of talk about Argentina beef, and more so since the Chinese authorities rejected a shipment containing traces of chloramphenicol, an antibiotic banned for food production in animals. It causes the bones to die, which causes leukemia. That has been banned in Argentina since 1995, so how it ended up in their food that was rejected by China is just speculative. Argentina officials and exporters described the finding as anomalous, possibly a false positive or cross-contamination, and opened an investigation. They also have a problem there in Argentina of the New World screwworm, a flesh-eating parasite epidemic in parts of South America, including Argentina. This too has complicated regional livestock trade after spreading northward through Central America and Mexico, reaching the southern United States this year. Trump's U.S. policy towards Argentina have included notable support under the current administration. This has featured financial assistance aimed at stabilizing the Argentina peso and expanded preferential access for Argentina beef into the American market. When Trump was asked about why he was allowing their beef to come into the United States, he said he was trying to save the country. He says people are dying there. Well, what about here in the U.S.? What about our farmers and our ranchers that are just simply walking away and are not in the tally of bankruptcies because they just walk away? More than 160,000 operations disappeared between 2017 and 2024 without formal bankruptcy filings. What about those people and their families and the people they employ? 160,000. The combination of decade-low cattle inventory, prolonged drought, the steady daily loss of cattle operations, rising farm bankruptcies, increased cattle theft, sharp higher consumer prices should be addressed here in America first. So this 90-day import of Argentina beef is not going to help to rebuild the heads of cattle is going to take many, many years, at least until 2028. The higher prices of beef is going to continue for years. It's not going to continue for months. So people better buckle up. What are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much for your support. I'm also on Patreon. If you wish to watch my videos, they're all for free on Patreon. You can support my work there or buy me a cup of coffee. Thank you again. God bless y'all. And be safe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless y'all. Bye.